you know, racing games, for example, they used to be a really pinnacle of how amazing rendering could be because you usually have these really big budgets, and then massive car companies really wanted their cars to look
Right.
as close to real as possible. So you would see like a new Gran Turismo game or a Forza game, and every time it was just like, this is amazing looking. And now it's
Sure.
just like, that's a car.
Yep. That's exactly it. No, I think it's just kind of boring. And I think, like one of the things about like people are still making new games on for these older systems.
Mm.
I know like with the Amiga, I have like 6 new games I need to try out that I got on I think Itch recently.
Can you give me
And
an example of a name? I am not
well,
a.
one of them I've actually played, so I can speak to it, is
Okay.
called Turbo Tomato,
Okay.
and, that one I really like. It's a lot of fun. It's kind of a, puzzle get through game, like,
Mm-mm.
it reminds me a little bit of Frogger. It's but, like, it's new and it's exciting, and somebody came up with it, and it's got a new like it feels good because it's new stuff,
Right, right,
but
right.
it plays on original hardware. Like I don't need an emulator to play it, although I can play it on an emulator.
Mhm,
But
mhm,
like it's awesome on the Amiga. I can sit and play on it all day long.
mhm, mhm.
um and that's just a ton of fun that people are still doing that and discovering new things that these things can do. I That's inspiring because, if people can figure out ways to make this ancient tech that has no internet, no sort of like modern paradigm,
Mhm.
if people can figure this stuff out, that's an exercise in the brain power, and
Mm.
that's something that I find inspiring.
I do think there's definitely something interesting about having such like low level access to the computer that you just don't really get anymore. And there's a reason for that. Like it's very difficult to port older games because you're writing them directly for the hardware. It makes
Oh,
sense
sure.
why we've gone down this route of drivers, and the hardware's gotten considerably more complex. If you had to directly control the GPU for a modern game, good luck with that
Yeah,
one.
absolutely. Well,
But
and some of this I think some of it might be that we have like there's basically 2 processor architectures right
mm,
now.
mm,
Just thinking about the logistics of it, like if you look at the way you assembled a program
mm,
in the 1980s, it was exceptionally different because like it wasn't a simple matter to port a game from an Amiga to an Atari to a Commodore 64 to an IBM PC. Like all of these different architectures had different needs.
right, it was
And
effectively a new game at that point.
yeah, exactly. And it felt like it. And it's kind of I think that forced people to get creative in a
Mm,
way that maybe they don't have to today.
mm.
It's a little bit more monolithic, although it's not technically a monolith, but it's a little bit more monolithic in terms of how we work on that stuff. And like I'm not an engineer, so I don't get into the ins and outs of that directly, but like I think that the constraint of a limited platform
Mhm,
gave your brain more stuff to do.
mm,
And I think that that process maybe created really interesting stuff.
mhm, mhm.
And I think more people should develop under constraints. I think that it's a fun exercise.
Yeah.
It's like when I make music and I decide I'm only going to play this one guitar.
Mhm.
I'm not going to go grab 15 other
Right,
instruments from
right.
my, like it forces me to think.
Yeah, one thing I'll often say is, limitation breeds creativity, and that's sort of a problem that we have not just in the games industry, but in just programming in general. You have these incredibly powerful systems that you can
Sure.
really do anything you want with at this point, and that sort of creates a situation where you can do anything, but what do you do with it, right? It's like
Right.
when you're dealing with something that's considerably slower, like one of these systems, you actually do have to. You do have to like how do you fit a game into the limited storage and limited memory you get on something like a Commodore 64. You actually have to
64 kilobytes.
yeah, you actually have to think about how your game is laid out to make that actually work.
Yep, 100%. No,
Uh,
it's kind of fun too because like people come up with creative solutions to solve those problems.
mhm,
I
mhm,
saw like on the VIC-20 games are often cartridge games.
mhm, mhm,
And a nice thing about a cartridge game is you can typically include additional like memory inside the game,
mhm, mhm,
but you're limited by like mapping capabilities and physical space and the like there's all kinds of fun constraints that you have to work around,
mhm,
and like you said, limitation breeds creativity. I think that that's exactly what it is, and I think sometimes we lack that, and I think it's nice to be on a platform that incorporates it.
mhm. So what else tends to grab your interest?
um a lot of things grab my interest.
Mm.
So like uh are we talking about just computers, or are we talking about more general,
If you wanna
like
go
what
general, you can go general if you want to.
well, I'm really into music.
Mm,
Like I always have been. I've been a musician since I was 5 years old. And just any instrument that I can find, I try to pick it up and I try to figure it out. And
do you have something you tend to gravitate towards the most?
well, my brain thinks in guitar.
Mm,
Like I picked up guitar as a teen, and like I clicked with the guitar. I think it's got a there's an opposites thing here with the part of me that really likes computers. Guitars are all like organic,
mm,
like it's very like you can have the same model guitar and you can have 4 different physical specimens of it,
mm,
and they'll all feel different.
mm,
Like, and that's I think that's kinda you don't see that with computers as much. So, I think that's kind of fun, and, I very much enjoy that whole world. There's a whole, like, music YouTube is kind of a trip,
mm.
and it's a little different. I don't know how much music YouTube you watch, but,
Usually on the consumer side rather than the creation side.
okay, yep. I do, you get, YouTubers who are talking about, like, the art of making music
Mm,
and, the equipment involved with it, and, like, there's some similarities with, like, TechTube,
mhm,
but there's a different sort of vibe with it that I find to be fascinating, and,
mm,
like, one of the like, 2 I'll call out 2 YouTubers who I really like, who I think exemplify this really well, and, one of them is Pat Finnerty,
mhm,
who, he does a, channel, like, a series of videos called "What Makes This Song Stink?" And in it, he's talking about horrible songs
mhm,
and breaking them down in music theory wise in terms of why they're horrible.
mm,
And it's incredible. It's one of my favorite things. And anytime there's a new Pat Finnerty video, it's like, gotta watch. Like that immediately gets my attention.
mhm,
And
mhm.
another one who she has an awesome community is Emily Hopkins, who does like harp videos, but she plays her harps through
Oh,
guitar
okay, yes, I
pedals.
do recognize this channel.
Yes, Emily Hopkins is awesome. And she has a really fantastic fun community, and like they support musicians and just teaching people how to use the certain pedals. So like yeah, like I don't know if you're familiar with guitar pedals.
A little bit. I'm aware of them, but
Yeah, oh,
feel free to explain
okay,
them.
so sure, I can do that. So you have a guitar, and the guitar makes sound. You plug in an electric guitar and you strum a chord, and it goes brrrnt, and you want that sound, instead of being a nice clean brrrnt, you want it to sound like And
Right.
so you will plug in a pedal which electrically modifies the signal
Mhm.
to make sound like and that's the goal
Uh-huh.
is
I
you want
appreciate
to
the
do
sound demo.
things. Yes, I don't have an amp plugged in right now. I got an amp back there, but
Mhm.
I need to it's not hooked up and I'm not gonna do that right now. But so what we do here is like you might have, say, as an example, a delay pedal,
Mm,
which you'll make your sound and it'll like echo it. So
mm,
brunt, 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 brunt. But that sounds like a simple thing, but sometimes you want something rhythmic,
mhm,
like two of them chained together in stereo so that they ping pong off.
mhm,
And actually setting that up can be labor intensive
mm.
and can pull people out of the, art of music making and they're just like reading instructions and it
Right.
sometimes it feels like you're doing an IKEA thing instead of like actually doing your craft.
Mm,
So I love videos that go into the details of how to like, here's how I got this sound and it's fiddling with the knobs and showing it. And channels that do that well, I think are fun.
mm.
There's a few that I like, but yeah, Emily Hopkins is chief among them at this point.